In 2025, I read 110 books and nearly 40,000 pages, but I did have several reading slumps throughout the year. Today, I want to talk about my reading ups and downs for 2025 and also what my reading and content plans look like for 2026. Hi, I'm Sophie. Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, it's great to have you here. This is going to be a sit-down wrap-up of my 2025 reading year, including some reading stats, and then I will share my reading goals and booktube goals for 2026. I've already shared my 5-star reads of 2025, and I'll link that video below, so check that out if you want to see what the best books I read in 2025 were. But there is one book that's missing from that list, and that was a sneaky last-minute 5-star read right at the end of 2025, which I'll tell you about in a bit. I would love it if you could give this video a like and also subscribe to my channel for more of my content. I have my coffee here, so do grab a warm drink and we'll get started. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about all of the books that I read in 2025, as that would be rather a long video. Instead, I will say that despite several really bad reading slumps, I ultimately had a very good reading year. Although I'm not very good at maths, I do love some reading stats, so I have got a few for you here as well. 2025 didn't end up being the year where I read the most books, but it was the year where I read the most pages that I have ever read in a single year. So as I mentioned at the start, I read 110 books in 2025, so that did exceed my target of 100 books, which I'd set for myself, and ended up being 50 more books than I read in 2024. I started off the year very strong by reading 16 books in January, which I think really did help me at the start to get to my reading goal. But in the next 3 months, I had some really bad reading months. This coincided with some personal struggles, so I'm not surprised that my reading took a hit at that point. I then started to do a lot better and read a lot more in May, and I then had an amazing summer of reading. So I read 18 books in June and then 19 books in July. So the whole of summer, I was pretty much reading constantly. But that did result in another reading slump in August. But at that time, I had also planned to start my booktube channel. So I spent a lot of time planning content and filming and working out how to film and edit content. So I didn't prioritize reading so much at that point. Then my reading improved slightly in September, but it did take a big hit in October and November. But I was doing a lot more content, and also I had a lot of bookish events and other events that I was prioritizing over reading. But I had an amazing finish to 2025, so in December I read 10 books and finished my last book of the year 15 minutes before 2026. And this ended up being the last minute 5-star read of the year, which was The Unmaking of June Farrow by Adrienne Young. This isn't really a surprise, as I have really loved Adrienne Young's books. So I loved the writing style, and this one felt quite unique, although it did feel a little bit similar to The Time Traveller's Wife, except for in this we follow the Farrow women who have a curse in the family. So they gradually start to forget things that have happened in their life, and it turns out the Farrow women are able to time travel. So we follow June, who's just starting to experience memory loss and working out what is actually happening to her. And I love the concept, I love the writing, I love the characters, and yeah, it did end up being a 5-star read. And that one was also on my 10 books that I wanted to read before the end of 2025, which unfortunately I didn't manage to read all of those. I read 5 books from that list in the end. So I still have Among the Burning Flowers by Samantha Shannon, No Friend to This House by Natalie Haynes, Bride by Ali Hazelwood, Never Ever After by Lynn, and The Executioners 3 by Dennard. So I'm going to try and prioritize them early on this year. Then moving on to the star rating stats. So I did have quite a nice number of 5-star reads. So that was 12 in total, with the last minute 5-star, and then also the reread of Twilight was counted in my 5-star reads. I had 54 4-star reads, so the majority of books I read in 2025 were 4-star reads. Then 37 3-star reads, and unfortunately 7 2-star reads, which did include 2 Olivia Blake books. I think I possibly gave them 3 stars in my wrap-up, but I did wonder why I'd given them 3 stars when I really didn't enjoy them, so I did drop that down to 2 stars. And sadly, these 2-star reads did also include a couple of books by Haruki Murakami, which is a shame, as I thought I would like his writing. So whilst I am probably going to give up with Olivia Blake, I think I will try some more of Murakami's work, as I think there is probably some really good books that I will really enjoy by him. So in total, I read 39,644 pages, which is just shy of 40,000. And this is really the most that I have ever read in a single year. I've generally been around the 20,000 words mark. So I think this is also due to the fact that I did read some chunky books, and I Am Looking at You, A Day of Fallen Night. I'm not sure how I managed to get through that. It was a great book, but it took a really long time to read. So that's really the wrap up of 2025. And as I said, it was a great reading year. So I read some really great books. And this also included some of the books which I think will be my all-time favourites. So we had Hecate, The Luminaries and Bat Eater, which were really the top three from what I read in 2025. So in terms of goals, I am still going to set myself a yearly reading goal. I know that some people can see that as a form of pressure and pressurizing yourself to read and taking the fun out of reading, but I am really one of those people who love setting a reading goal. I have to have one. I love to have something to aim for, and I don't feel that it impacts my enjoyment of the reading at all. So I'm going to stick with 100 books, which I think is doable based on what I read in 2025. And then I would love to try and read 40,000 words, but I think that's going to be very dependent on the amount of books I read. And also it will probably involve me reading some chunkier books, so those over 500 pages, which I haven't typically read a lot of in the past, but in 2025 I did read a lot more. So I'm going to look at maybe picking up the chunky books as well. And then I am a serial series starter, but not finisher. So I have quite a large number of series that I've read the first book and have never finished. So I think one of my goals and priorities would be to finish off series that I am partway through. Then I really need to focus on book box subscriptions, as there is really no point in me having these subscriptions if I'm not going to read the books. So one of my priorities will be to focus on the books that I've received, and also trying to read those book box subscription books as soon as they come in, or at least in the month that they come in. And then there is a larger goal that I am working towards with my reading, and I would absolutely love to read books within 3 months of me getting them. So at the moment I am not very close to that at all. I'm very far off doing that. But I did start in 2025 to try and read books within 6 months, and actually I was being quite successful at that. So I'm going to continue doing that, and with the hope of eventually one day reading books within 3 months so that they're still very much relevant. I do find that once I've had books for several years, then I feel like I maybe missed the opportunity to read them when I was most excited about them. And then overall, I do really need to try and reduce my physical TBR. It has now got to critical point. So we're looking at over 500 books that are unread, which is far too many books to have on a physical TBR. I know this. And then the final part of this video will be my booktube goals. So I have now been on booktube for 4 months, which has been great. It's been a great learning experience, and I really enjoyed making content, curating content. And at the start, I honestly had no idea how it would go and if I would actually get any viewers at all or any subscribers. I honestly just thought that I would be talking to myself and I wouldn't manage to get any views or any subscribers. So the fact that I ended 2025 with over 80 subscribers is amazing. And I've also noticed a massive difference from my confidence levels from when I filmed my first video to filming this one now. So really my main priority with the channel this year is just to keep on building the community, to really connect with like-minded readers, as that was the main reason that I set up this channel to begin with. So whilst I would obviously love more subscribers, I'm more interested really in building the community. And then in terms of content, I do still plan to make the regular content that I've been making, but I would like to also make some more book recommendation videos and try again at vlogs. I did a couple, but I did feel quite uncomfortable filming them. So I think now I would like to try and get those vlogs in there as well. And then I also do have some exciting videos planned. So I think that I will be doing my first ever bookshelf tour, which is quite intimidating as I do have a lot of books. So I'm not sure the logistics of how I'm going to film that yet, but I will work it out. And then also I'm planning a Cut Your TBR series. So similar to Becca in the book Shelve It or Scrap It, Gavin reads it all in Boss or Toss and other similar videos that you may have seen. So I hope to start that series in January, but I haven't started filming it yet, so I'm not sure when that will actually go up. And yeah, really just keep making content that makes you want to watch. So that is all of the wrap up and all of the goals. And just before I finish this video, I just wanted to say a big thank you to anyone who has watched my videos, those who've liked the videos and commented, and those who have subscribed. It's really appreciated. So I am really looking forward to my first full year on booktube. Please do leave me a comment and let me know how your 2025 reading year went. And also let me know what kind of content you'd like to see from me in 2026. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.